Don't miss out on important news. Our videos are being deleted. So if you don't want to be cut off from honest news, take a moment to sign up for our newsletter at newsletter.ntd.com so you don't lose access to NTD. Go to newsletter.ntd.com to sign up for our evening newsletter.
Former President Trump is coming back with rallies. He told One American News that they'll happen relatively soon. Trump plans to make an announcement over the next week or two. Trump said he'll hold rallies in Florida, Ohio, Georgia, and North Carolina. Trump rallies have historically attracted large crowds, sometimes numbering in the tens of thousands. Trump has been giving several interviews and releasing statements in recent months. His next appearance may be in early June. It'll be his first rally since he left office on January 20th. He's slated to speak at the North Carolina Republican Party's 2021 state convention on June 5th. Soon, licensed gun owners in South Carolina will be able to carry their guns out in the open when they're in public. The state's governor signed an open carry bill into law this week. NTD's Kevin Hogan has the details.
South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster signed an open carry gun law on Monday. He says the new law enhances South Carolinians' ability to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Starting August 15th, the state will be a Second Amendment sanctuary, and the $50 fee for a concealed weapon permit will vanish. Gun sanctuaries are where unconstitutional gun laws would not be enforced. In recent years, they have been a means for states and gun rights activists to ignore federal restrictions on guns. As of 2020, over 400 municipalities in over 20 states passed resolutions ignoring state and federal restrictions on guns. What's more, Texas is pushing to become a Second Amendment sanctuary. Under South Carolina's new law, concealable weapons, defined as guns shorter than 12 inches, can be carried in plain sight once gun owners have completed training and a background check. And the law still lets businesses prohibit open or concealed firearms, and it allows for temporary restrictions like for festivals, etc. Biden's administration has proposed plans to restrict gun access, including banning certain semi-automatic rifles and revoking immunity from gun manufacturers. That's on the backdrop of 194 mass shootings this year, including 4 especially deadly shootings, 2 in Colorado, 1 in Indiana, and 1 in Atlanta. Proponents of the law argue that it will not turn South Carolina into some Wild West, and gun rights proponents more broadly assert guns help law-abiding citizens resist tyrannical governments and defend themselves from criminals and lawbreakers. Kevin Hogan, NTD News.
The U.S. Senate and House lawmakers reintroduced a bill that would deny visas to foreign spies, particularly those with ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
3 congressional Republicans reintroduced a bill called the Protecting America from Spies Act that would allow the State Department to deny visas to those engaged in espionage or other activities against the United States. This Senate bill was introduced by Senators Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. The House version was introduced by Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler. Rubio said in a statement on Thursday, "We know that the Chinese Communist Party will spare no effort to steal from and exploit American companies and universities." And he says this legislation prevents repeat offenders from gaining access to our country.
We should require federal contractors to disclose any commercial ties they might have to the Communist Party of China.
A Washington-based think tank compiled a list of 152 publicly reported cases of Chinese-linked espionage. The data shows that military and commercial technologies are the most common targets for theft. Of the 180 misconduct investigations at the National Institutes of Health, more than 90% of the cases have links to China.
Negotiations drag on for Biden's infrastructure plan. The White House proposed a smaller plan to try to find a middle ground with Republicans. The new plan would cost $1.7 trillion instead of the original $2.3 trillion. They lowered the price tag by taking funding away from broadband, roads, and bridges, not environmental projects.
The proposal also agreed to reduce the funding request for broadband to match the Republican offer and to reduce the proposed investment in roads, bridges, and major projects to come closer to the number proposed by the senators.
The proposal is meant to make it clear that they think the Republican offer neglects funding for key priorities like clean energy investments. But the lowered plan still includes tax hikes, which Republicans say they won't support at all. Lead Republican negotiator Senator Shelley Capito met with cabinet members on infrastructure earlier this week. But he says they didn't make much progress since they still can't agree on which projects are classified as infrastructure. And it looks like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is laying the groundwork to pass an infrastructure plan without Republican votes. According to Hill sources, Schumer and Senator Bernie Sanders met with Senate parliamentarian again on Thursday. Part of their discussion was about how to use budget reconciliation to pass the bill with a simple majority. The Senate parliamentarian already said reconciliation can be used again this year, but Democrats have held off so far on jamming through another large spending package. Canned wine sales have skyrocketed over the past decade in the U.S. In France, the first cans made it onto supermarket shelves, but the French have mixed opinions toward the beverage. NTD's David Vives has more from Paris.
Before being a glass bottle beverage, wine was drunk for centuries in amphoras, a two-handled vessel. But the US seems to have set a new standard for wine containers, cans. In less than a decade, the sales of canned wines skyrocketed from $2 million in 2012 to over $183 million in 2020, making it the fastest growing segment of the market. In France, some brands are taking their first step into this untapped market. As in the US, these cans especially target young people. However, it seems these students were not yet ready to enjoy wine in a can.
I don't know. When I look at it, this seems like a poor quality wine to me.
And they did not lack opinions.
Sounds like an abomination. Wine tasting is a part of gastronomy. We have glasses for red wine, white wine, for a bunch of alcohol. So putting it into a can and drinking it as if it was Coca-Cola, this is just atrocious.
It's strange, I think. A bottle of wine, you can share it with people. It's a moment you share with your friends.
According to one brand of canned wine, the wine is less than 2 years old, prepared this way to be drunk without aging. But how would an industry expert react? We went to see Alexandre Jean. He worked as a sommelier for 20 years in the most prestigious restaurants of Paris. He'd never heard of canned wines before we met. We asked him to conduct a taste test.
A fruit-focused expression, cassis, not much alcohol, nicely balanced. First impression is good. I'm a little bit surprised by the quality and wine expression. Pretty nice, in fact.
The test taste continued with the $7 bottle of wine.
The bottle is the same year as the can, 2019. Oh, I would never thought to say that verdict. I like the canned wine better. Damn. The bottled wine carries a tradition of its own for sure. It's another way to taste the wine, but it all depends on the intention behind the work of the wine producer. You might put a good wine in cans.
But whatever the container, the best way to drink wine is to do it with moderation. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.